it with some cool questions about verse 2. But if there's anything we can't answer, we'll just let you know. But happy to help and kind of, walk through what we've got going on here. We have the wonderful team with us. We've got Sarah Rust and Evan Brown here from our Docs and Learning team. They're super awesome. They're programmers, writers, and they've got a lot of great info. And so feel free if you've got any questions while we're going here. This is meant to be an engaging experience where you can ask questions live and we can see what we can do. So feel free to chat with us in our different chats. We're live on Twitch and YouTube. And here, of course, in Discord, and we'll do our best to answer what questions we can. So yeah, it's supposed to be a cool time. And with that, give some brief introductions for those who don't know me. I'm the community manager here for Fortnite Creative and UFN. And then we have Sarah Rust here. I'll let you go, Sarah.
Yep. Hi, I'm Sarah Rust. I'm lead programmer writer, focusing on verse documentation. If you don't know what a programmer writer is, we're engineers who can write good. So, we try our best to kind of do it all, teach how we program and make games and show you all how to do it too.
Very nice. And Evan.
What up? I'm Evan. I'm also a programmer writer. I do one of those things good. Up to you to find out. I've been on one of these streams before, so I don't know, maybe you remember me. But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
we're here to
say
show off some
you've
cool
been here
stuff.
before. They should know you. I think were you the second stream ever? I can't remember. Was Sarah, were you on the second stream ever or no?
No, that was
Was it just
K-Pen.
Evan?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was
Because I
David.
remember I wasn't on that one, I think, but okay, cool. Sweet. Yeah. And we got returning faces here. And first time for Sarah, which is
Yeah, this
awesome.
is
We
the first
appreciate you.
time. Be nice, y'all.
Awesome. Yeah, let's see. Chat. Is it too soon for questions? No, please send us your questions in chat and I'll help answer them if I can. And if it is it going to be recorded and available to view later? Yes. It's going to be on our YouTube and then eventually it'll be on our EDC as well. We'll be uploading it there too once we have it. So, hi everybody.
People are
Hi
saying
there,
Sarah's
Sarah.
mic is hard to hear.
Oh.
That's better.
Uh you can always actually, I don't know, can they right click on you and turn you up? I don't know. Um I can hear Sarah, but let's see. Oh, it's already at 200.
Maybe
No.
I'm just really quiet.
Oh, you know what? I'm not listening to Sarah on there. Dan, how is it on your end? Does it sound okay in the Discord? Dan the van man. Good?
Make sure
Thumbs
it's
up?
set as the right mic.
Let's see. It's my fault because I don't have Sarah's user.
Yeah. Does that sound better?
Oh God. Oh yes. Oh God. Yes. Rip ears. Oh, too much, too much. I love this for us. Our first dev deep dive is, as you can tell, it's just a good time,
I'll
everyone.
work on it for y'all. I'll get you New Year's.
We like we enjoy jump scaring people. We want to keep it fresh. Like, oh man, we're already getting good questions. Okay, cool. How is it, Sarah? Is it turned down a little now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. We're good. Can people hear Sarah? Testing Sarah. What is oh, we got so many questions. Okay, cool. Good. Okay, well let us know if anything changes. You can hear. Great. We are here to adapt and make it usable. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Wait, this is a really active chat. We're excited. Goodness, I have so many chats to pay attention to and so many good questions. So with that, for Sarah and Evan, is there anything do you want to kick off just a brief overview of it real quick and then I'll pull some questions and then if we feel like, that stuff's in the future, we can just kind of keep going with the stuff you want to cover. Like, does that feel like a good flow for this?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I
Okay,
think we can
cool.
show what the template is, kind of the gameplay and how we set it up, and then kick over to questions.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks. Take it away.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
we made this template Evan and I, along with Capen and a really awesome art team over at Heavy Iron. That's kind of the goal of it, is to kind of show how different ways of using verse and getting people comfortable with seeing different ways to use verse. Evan, if you want to start the game.
Yeah, I
Um,
got you.
so we have it set up where you get into
Yeah.
the level and you can see all these, there's different billboards explaining kind of how the game works, how the template project works is been set up. But you can also play this mini game, which is what we added to the project. And so in this mini game, there's a list of buttons at the top that you can select to give commands to this NPC character and have them execute it. You can also reset the commands, remove the commands from the UI. But it's a series of puzzles that you have to solve with this character and have them maneuver around the board.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 different levels. You can go through them. Our cool little verse UI commands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Reset the character if you get stuck. Hitting that button, which clears out the UI, puts them right back where you started.
Nice. So
And
there's so many possibilities with what you've put together here for people to kind of pull from and use, huh?
Yeah, that was the idea, making something modular and something that people can pull pieces out of to and see like how we did something that's a little different than maybe you'll see in Fortnite.
yeah, we also definitely wanted to show like direct control of an NPC through UI. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Wow. And so for this one, just kind of curious, for this idea, I know you mentioned that you want to do something different. Was there anything in particular that kind of like spurred this idea on to build the template?
I mean, it's just we knew we wanted to update the verse starter template with some code, more like
Mm.
a little mini game. Originally we were thinking like a series of mini games, so we stuck with just this one, just to start it off, see how it went. And the idea of like sending commands, having someone execute it is like similar to kind of how computer, you send instructions to a computer and it executes it for a program. That's kind of what we were leaning on, is the idea of like how code works and how you give instructions and it executes it. And so that was like the through line for this mini game that we decided to do, of you have these lists of commands and you can add and change what commands the character can do and have them change what order they do and see how that all works.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for showing us that. So, for the overview so far, I'll go and check some questions to see what we got here. I know we've got Clever Like in here. Hi, Ian. How are you? Oh, Gatlin. Hey, Gatlin. Here's my experience working with the template. Ran into a few roadblocks, but I gave up working with it. Okay, good feedback. I'm excited to see how you explain to use the template. Yeah. So, Clever, like if you have any questions, or Gatlin, if you have any questions, please drop them in chat. Specific questions, we can pull it up and talk about it. And yeah, see what we can unearth that will hopefully, make it a little bit easier to understand. That's what this is for. This is completely just to help educate, to help, if there's something that maybe, we need to dig deeper into to show off, that's what we want to do here, because then that video will live on and help others as well. Let's see.
I can actually get
Um,
into how to
oh, you
set it
can.
up and get
Oh, great.
everything
Yeah.
started.
Let's do that,
Me
Evan. Thanks.
end the game super fast and jump over to UEFN.
Cool.
So when you make this template yourself, we kind of spawn you in front of these billboards because you can't just launch the template and hit play, because the template is reliant on gameplay tags, which if you haven't messed with them before, they're a way for Verse to go and find different devices or objects in the level and pull them into code. And so we have this billboard here that talks about assigning the Verse Commander minigame gameplay tag to the Verse device. So if you've ever started up and been super confused about what to do, just follow this. But you just fly over here to your little Verse device that controls the entire minigame. Click on this. I'll pop this out real quick. And if you scroll down, there's this Verse tag markup tag thing here. If you don't see it, you can also hit the add button and search for Verse tag markup. And you just got to make sure that in the tag section, you hit edit and assign the Verse Commander minigame tag. And that way, all the different devices can find each other, everything can get sub correctly, and you can actually start the minigame. There's actually another tag that we use in this, which is on this. these billboards. We have these different design billboards around the level. Um, and in a lot of our templates, actually, we just put these around to explain either like what's happening at this stage or why we did a certain decision on this particular piece of the level. So for this, you also need to tag this with the, where is it? The cinematic objects tab so that it's hidden when you start the game. Otherwise, this billboard's going to be floating there in the air. And
Yeah.
speaking,
And if you so we're explaining this because if you start the mini game without having the verse device tagged, with the verse commander mini game tag, you won't be able to send commands to the character. So that's actually how we were able to have our verse device talking to our NPC behavior script, and send commands between each other was using gameplay tags. So it's a way the NPC character could then find the verse device and start receiving events from that, to then know when to execute and reset and everything.
yeah. And like I said, the billboards, these billboards here just explain stuff throughout the level. There's a couple more floating in the air and a bunch of these through each devices. For a lot of our templates, we actually have this cinematic that isn't enabled when you start. But if you come over to the verse device and just toggle on this play at start value here, when you start the template, it'll play a like fly through cinematic that goes through all the billboards and gives you a bit of a guided tour for all the little decisions and ideas we made. And then you actually get to play the game after. You just got to wait through that.
I did get a question about someone WXYZ was asking why tags over a direct device reference.
For us, it's mostly to keep the like devices as uncoupled from each other as possible. Tags can also be quite a bit more versatile. So say if you need to, we actually have a tutorial for this, the tag lights puzzle on the Epic
Oh,
Developer
nice.
community. But if you need to tag a bunch of objects and then get them all at the same time, instead of making a ton of different references to those objects, you can just call a piece of verse code to get all the objects at once. And so that allows you to do it a little bit more dynamically than just having static device references that you have to have set up before you start your level.
I found it, so I'm going to drop it in the chat there.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Evan.
I would say with gameplay tags, like the order isn't always deterministic. So you don't know, like it's not always gonna be the same order that you get everything from the API. Whereas so that's where you'd probably want to do like an editable property that references a creative device just so if you want a specific order. Like in this is a really good example where we have our game boards are, like a very specific order and we run through the different levels based off of the order that they are. And so if that's really important, then you probably would want to do an editable device reference. But otherwise, like if you just have a lot of stuff and you just need to be able to find it, that's like gameplay tags are a really good way to do that because it's just adding that onto the thing itself without having to make sure the device is set up to reference it and all that stuff.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm going to see if there's any other initial questions. Let me know if this is something y'all can help with. It's totally fine if not, but we got a lot of upvotes. Hi, I see in the example you use the Fortnite style button widgets. I tried placing them with a generic button widget, button with the code, but it sadly does not work with controller input cryface. Are there plans in the future to make this compatible with controller input?
I think that's something that we can answer. I think because that's the I think I know what they're talking about because right now the generic button widget in the first UI doesn't that's like how you can have like a more custom user interface like designs for your different buttons. But currently it's not supported for controller input, which is why we didn't use it in this template.
Yeah.
So actually kind of the hack that we did was Evan, if you want to show the game, but we layered textures behind
Oh yeah, I got
regular
you.
button. And that's kind of how we made it look a little bit more custom, where you still have like the controller input and all the functionality of the button, but we are able to put like textures, do an overlay widget of all the different textures behind the default Fortnite button to kind of give that a little bit more custom look.
Yeah, if you see the actual button is still behind this. But we have a cool little custom UI thing in front of it. So it looks all nice.
does look all nice. Thank you. That's awesome. Answering this real quick. What is mentorship? When I click to apply for Epic Picks, it gives you two options, one for picks and one for mentorship. That was from something before Mohar, so who's to say if we ever bring back mentorship? But that was something that was in that it's actually it sounds really funny. It is actually very hard to pull things from that form. It takes like months. So just trust me. So that's why it hasn't been pulled yet. And I think there's also maybe a possibility of that happening in the future. So that's why you see that. Let's see, what else do we got? Ooh, here we go. Okay. Clever Like says I got the gameplay tag set up at least. Yeah, if you have any other questions, please put them in here. That's what this is for. Um, do, 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 do. I don't know if y'all know the answer to this one. When will teams be able to create and use their own templates for quicker iteration? I think that's probably more of a roadmap question. I bet
Yeah.
you guys, right?
Yeah, I'm just a humble
Teams
programmer writer.
yeah. No. You guys are awesome. It seems most people just copy paste their verse devices over and migrate an existing project. That's good feedback, Kieran. Definitely will note that. But a lot of bugs introduced as of late, linked to migration copy pasting projects, so it's not ideal. Really good to know. I'll definitely document that down and share it with the team for after. But yeah, please, if you have any questions about this, y'all, keep them coming. Let's see. Tags avoid a lot of circular reference. Yes. How did you get the buttons to be blue? I've tried before, but they'll usually just look pretty bad with my color underscore block that I used. Overflowing. I know that's about
Yeah,
UI.
that's what no,
But I
that's what
wanted
I
to
was
double check.
chatting about with the overlay of the
Yeah.
different textures behind.
Oh yeah.
So like yeah, Evan, if you want to open up the VS Code, we can kind of show it a
Thank
little
The
bit.
you.
UI.
Yeah, the UI manager. Um,
Oh, I suppose we should address the red squiggles.
Oh,
yes.
tell us about the squiggles.
I guess, I mean, this is a bug that's currently going on.
Oh, okay.
If
That's
you see
okay.
this, your code still
Totally
works.
understand.
Don't worry. I mean, I just showed you the game still works, but these squiggles will go away. This will be fixed.
Yeah,
But
and it's related to like asset reflection on the LSP.
yeah,
It's a known bug.
yeah.
For a quick question, is a template multiplayer ready? Someone asked.
It could be. I think we tried to set it up a little bit with especially with the UI and stuff. But I think that would be like a really fun thing for y'all to try to make it multiplayer and kind of figure out what kind of that gameplay would look like. Um,
Yeah. And you could have multiple characters controlled by multiple people
mhm.
trying to solve a puzzle in tandem.
Yeah,
That's more of a challenge to y'all.
yeah.
Yeah.
We want to see y'all do that.
I know you want to talk about the UI.
Yes. Yeah. Specifically, how did you get the buttons to be blue? They tried before with color underscore block, but it was overflowing.
Yeah, so we have a mini game button class, and basically what we do in that, it just has a lot of references to the different widgets within the button. And so it has the different backgrounds, the button itself. So we're able to swap out setting the images on each of those widgets. So like if you notice while playing the game, as the character's executing the commands, the buttons will actually change to like a more dim version of the colors. And that's like how we do that, where we just swap out the different textures that we use based off of what's happening in the game. And that's all done because we have it in this class that we then set, just swap out the textures and set the image on the widget.
Thank you. Super helpful. Are you looking to create a HUD, heads up display template that is easily configurable for users not familiar with UEFN's verse? I don't know how much you can share on that if
We have some tutorials that go into using UMG and UEFN, but you don't have to use verse to do that. I can send you the link, Shane.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'll drop it in there.
Yeah, there's a whole like
Mhm.
in-game user interfaces section in our documentation, and we also have a example that shows how to set up title screens and stuff using the widget editor.
Awesome. Do you plan on ever allowing client-side code like a simple update function? Others weren't sure what that meant, but I figured I'd ask y'all and see if you have insight.
I think that's a roadmap question. I would
Yeah.
I would look
Another
at the
roadmap question.
roadmap.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I appreciate y'all. As I am not a programmer, I have to facilitate and just hope that that it's on topic. The image is behind the button, right? The button on the top of the image just makes the image color a bit weird, but it works. Oh yeah, you're helping. Um, any idea? Oh, let's see this one. Oh yeah, we answered that question about the buttons. Any idea when material parameter collections are being exposed to verse? Probably, is that another roadmap
That's
question?
another roadmap question.
Okay. Sounds like we need Bjorn on here to do roadmap questions. Are we getting more than 5 layers for the HUD device in the future? Probably more question. The squiggles are just a bug. You can ignore it. Yes. Thank you,
True.
Tom Shank.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Evan,
okay.
maybe you wanted to go into kind of how we did I saw there's a question about game logic.
Oh,
If you want
awesome.
to
Yeah.
dig into that, Evan.
Thanks for
Which
thinking.
question?
Oh, I see it.
Just
Yeah,
wanting to see
can.
the game logic and verse.
Yep.
Yeah, so with regards, I can speak primarily to the game board because it's the one
Yep.
I made.
I think that'd be a good one, and then show it in the editor
Oh,
too.
perfect.
Yeah, I got you. So the actual game logic of this is slightly it doesn't work exactly how you think, but basically the character spawns and moves on a sort of fictional game board that's dictated by this tile size. The game board itself is actually super, super simple. All it really has is the tile size, which is just how far the character moves and where it should go in different directions. Camera to control the game board, the end goal that the character needs to reach, and then an array of obstacles, where the character spawns, etc., and the opening cinematic, all these things. But it's designed to be like a super lightweight thing that you can move over to your own projects and customize as needed. Because at the end of the day, like this kind of just exists free floating. All that matters is where your character spawns and where the end goal is. And even I hit a button. And even this array of obstacles, sorry, it's the same with the obstacle devices, right? The obstacle devices are also meant to be this like very modular, like not too tightly coupled to your other first devices thing that can exist independently of game boards. So for us, all an obstacle is a barrier device and the trigger you need to disable that barrier device. Even stuff like the barrier dissolve and the barrier appear is just a cinematic. You don't need that to create your own obstacles. So our idea is to just make it super duper modular and be able to expand this to other types of gameplay experiences, other types of obstacles. You could turn this obstacle class into more of a super class and make, barrier obstacles, like jumping obstacles, spike obstacles, et cetera, maybe an obstacle that spawns a guard, that sort of thing. And even something like this doesn't have to be constrained to just a diverse minigame, right? Like this obstacle class could apply to any sort of platform because really at the end of the day, all it is here's the barrier, here's the trigger that disables the barrier, that sort of thing. That's the logic of the game board.
Awesome. Thank you so
And
much for walking us through that.
I'm actually going to speak more to the modularity of it because
Yeah.
this is an important note to show off.
It is
Part of the
for the
reason we
mods.
designed it modularly, like I said, is before to make sure that you guys can expand it to your own experiences and also to be able to really quickly iterate on it. So our Verse Commander minigame has an array of game boards. And if you want to add a new game board somewhere else in your world, you can just add or remove it from the list. And within these game boards, everything is editable. And even the array of obstacles for that game board are editable. So for instance, if we go down to game board 3, that has an obstacle in it. Within that obstacle, we have an array of barriers, barrier devices, all these different things that you can just change on the fly, reshuffle, reorganize, both for testing and to create your own like fun gameplay flow. So a big thing for us was we don't want to run through like the whole level when we're testing it, or sorry, the whole template when we're testing it. And a major advantage of keeping things modular like this is that say if we want to test specifically game board 4, we can just take this here and drag it to the start of the game boards array. And then if we push those changes and hit play, will be on game board 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like the benefit of also using like classes that you have set up as editable references, because this allows, so each board is different, it has different obstacles, it has different locations of in-game triggers. And so because we set it up that way, you can, each one can be unique in its own way, but you just have one verse class that you've defined. So it allows you to kind of add more functionality to each.
Awesome.
How do you
Well,
get
we've got.
editables in a list like this?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So, for instance, within the game board class, right, we just have this editable array of type obstacle. And because the obstacles themselves are concrete and have all these editable properties, those will get exposed in the editor through the array within each game board.
Yeah, and the concrete specifier just means that each field that's within the class just is initialized to some value, which allows it to then be used in the editor.
Yeah. And not everything needs to be editable for you to expose it. For instance, we have the is obstacle pass, which is just whether they've gone through the barrier or not. And that's not editable.
Yeah, so you can pick and choose like which properties you want in the editor and which ones are just hidden within the class that only it needs to know about.
Nice.
I really like this
Ooh.
question from Tom J.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Tom's great. That's a great question. What's your favorite clever solution to a problem in this project?
Probably the NPC stuff.
Yeah, all the NPC stuff.
You should
Okay.
show them the board, what it actually looks like.
Yeah, okay. I was going to talk about this later, but this is a perfect time for this. So, sort of a precursor question to this is, why did we use an NPC character in the first place? So, at the time we were developing this, I can say we didn't really have access to, like, you know, much beyond the NPC spawner. We couldn't do character definitions and these sorts of things, but we want to do something that's a little more fun than just moving a prop around a game board, because that's really simple. And so we got really stuck on the idea of, all right, let's do an NPC. And all we had was the navigable API. So we could tell a character where to go, and that's about it. We couldn't tell them how to get there. We could just tell them, hey, here's this target that you could go to. Do your best. And so to kind of get around that, if you open this template yourself, you might notice there's a lot of these AI navigation modification devices absolutely everywhere. And if you haven't messed with these before, all these do is just say, hey, you as an NPC can't go here, so please don't even try. And we have them set up in such a way where the character is constrained to a very specific path. So if the character goes forward, they won't like take zigzags or waver. They'll just go down this line in a straight path. This becomes a little more obvious in levels like level 2, where the character has to make a turn. And this is something y'all as creators might have experienced when messing with NPC pathing. If you have an NPC that's right here and you try and make it go down, or say, actually, if you have it in this tile right here and you want to reach this tile.
Evan, I don't think I can see. I can't see your mouse for some.
You can't see my mouse?
Oh,
Oh.
now it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so when you clicked on that thing, we could see it. Oh,
Okay,
maybe
sorry,
it's too
guys.
tiny. I don't know. I can't see it
Anyway.
for some reason. Sorry.
Anyway, if you have an NPC that's like right here and you want it to navigate to down here.
Oh, I see it
a,
now.
a lot of the times in Fortnite, the character will either try and take a winding path to avoid obstacles, or depending on like your experience settings, it may try to smash through walls, mantle over walls, all these different sorts of things. So we use the AI navigation modification devices along with changing the island settings to prevent all that, to make sure the character pretty much just goes in a straight line. And actually, the release of NPC character definitions let us use the custom NPC character definition type, which, unlike the guard, is mainly restricted to just moving, which is super helpful for us. So yeah, the modification devices was the main thing that I'm happy that we figured out. I can't figure out a better way to say it than that.
Yeah. I would also say, like, I feel like we had to get a lot of creative. We had to be pretty creative for a lot of this stuff, because as we were working on it, like, like features like hadn't come out yet that are now
Yes.
available. So like I feel like if we did it today, we probably would have done it differently. And it was also the challenge of like as we were working on it, we are like we see some new feature and we're like, oh, that's so shiny, like
Oh,
but wanting to like focus on like making sure we ship it and stuff and not adding more. I think that's like the hard part. I think everyone I'm sure in the community runs into as well of like, you know, some new things come out that you want to try, but also like wanting to get something out the door. Always that like trade-off of whether it's worth it. But we did end up switching from the original like navigable API to then using the NPC spawner because it was like while we were in mid development, just because it made a lot more sense and it was easier. It cleaned up a lot of our code that we ended up doing.
Yeah. And attaching the script that controls the NPC to an NPC character definition also let us not have to use another verse device to control the NPC in the level, and also made our code like a lot less tightly coupled between the different classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what we did before was just having like a little prop moving around that we were constantly
Oh God,
navigating
it was
towards.
bad, bro. It was bad. Y'all don't want to see that.
So like that's what I meant by clean up our code a lot, where we're like, oh, we just literally tell the character to move forward.
see, it happens to everyone, creators. All of us, we're all dealing with the changes and the constant whoa. Fluctuations and what happens with updates and platforms too. I know, my brain literally shut down. Look. There was a lot happening. I have a lot of questions in other chats too, so I want to try and catch those as well. One good one for you both, I think. So I know. Oh, I think I lost it. It was something about. Um, oh wow, there's so many questions over here in YouTube. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about YouTube. Oh, what are good ways to remember a programming language? Um, yeah, just and then someone asked about blueprints, which there's no info on anything with blueprints, everyone, but if there is, you'll there'll definitely be a big announce if there ever was. What are good ways to remember a programming language? So that's the first part of the question that we can't answer.
I mean, I think we have like a quick reference, which is like a easy way to just search through like everything that's in the language just to remind yourself like how do I write something. I would also say just the more you work in it, the easier it'll get to remember things. We have a lot of, I think the snippet repository, like seeing what other people post, how people code in the language. We have a lot of verse examples as well. Like looking at what people do and learning from that, I think is the best way to kind of see and like help remember, I guess, like what to do. And also just language references and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and we also have, let me throw in there too, our little definitely our snippets repository. I'll throw that in chat for those who might not have seen it before, or all three chats, you all get it. And let's see, any other questions? You can it's like someone was answering something. What advantages are there to creating the UI via verse as opposed to a widget asset?
I would say for this one, we were able to like keep the dynamic UI, I think is the biggest part of it. Where at the bottom, if you like add a lot of commands and remove commands, I think that's something that I wouldn't have been, it would have taken me a long time. I don't know if it's even possible to do it with the widget editor itself. And so that's something that I like, you're able to have that dynamic interaction with like what's displaying in the UI by swapping it out, changing what icons are displaying in the bottom. Also changing out when you click on the buttons, while the character's executing the commands, they'll swap out their textures. That's something that you can also do in verse that I think could be a little bit harder using the widget editor. Yeah, Evan, if you want to like show like a bunch of commands queuing up and then hitting execute, you can see.
Oh, was I not already?
No.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. And then hit execute.
Say if you hit
He's gonna be
execute.
dancing.
So then it like it dims out those swaps out the texture so it looks like dimmed buttons.
Oh yeah.
And like if you reset it,
Yeah, and then yeah, so
you
that's
can
all
clear that.
like because we're doing
Nice.
that all in verse, it made it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I know I saw one other one. Um, oh, well, maybe everyone's just talking. Keep talking, YouTube. Keep talking. That's great. It's just sorry. There's the screen's so tiny, so I'm like, what questions are there? Oh, I know we have another couple in here. Is there any particular reason that things that clearly function are disallowed? For example, custom post-processing effects.
I don't
That's
know if
kind
we're the
of,
ones for
Do we know
that.
about
yeah,
that? Okay.
that
Okay.
that's a
No
roadmap
worries.
question
Thank
for
you.
people above my pay grade. I can
Yeah,
say that.
roadmap questions. Y'all got, I mean, that's classic. Of course, we're gonna have a lot of,
Yeah.
I had to do that to duplicating while the tag is. I had to do that to 180 actors the other day. They each had their own cinematic experiences or sequences that had to be updated individually too. So ages. Yeah, that's that's a lot. Oh, can you expand on what scene graph is? I don't I don't I don't know if we can talk. I mean, we can probably verbally talk about it, but we probably can't pull it up, but I don't fully understand what it does.
Yeah, I think there's a really good like GDC Tech Talk. I think that's on YouTube.
Oh
That one's
yeah.
really good to
Let
where
me
they
pull
go
that up.
like the experts on that could dive into what scene graph is and how it works and kind of what their vision for it is.
Yeah, let me pull that up for y'all and I'll share it. Um, why curves are available in verse, but there's no way to use them since we can't reference the asset on the device. I use lerp functions for UI animations and custom curves are very helpful. Curvers are very helpful. Um, let's see. Da-da-da. Thanks, Tom Jang. Tom Jang's holding down the fort. Um, oh, let's see here. Oh, this is way up here. Do you guys have any tips on quickly populating arrays with actors within the editor? It takes a while to manually add 100 plus actors to an editable array field, for example.
Within the editor,
Yeah. It's okay if y'all don't know either. We can always, but
I
if
mean, I
you
hate to say it,
try.
but my answer has mostly been like elbow grease. Um, at
Yeah.
runtime, sure. I mean, with gameplay tags and everything else, but within the editor while you're editing it's tough.
Yeah, and it also like depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Sometimes if there's that much, maybe I'll think of like maybe there's some other way to kind of approach the problem that I could solve without having to do some of that. I'm pretty lazy, I'm gonna say that. So
Same.
I was trying to find other ways that require less tedious work.
No, that's totally fair. This is a question that I don't know if we'll be able to answer, but I figure I'll throw it out there in case y'all know more than me. Is it possible to preview facial animations on the characters in UFN editor? As there is no skeletal message to set them as a preview. Searching gave me 0 results.
I think there's a way. I would look at the animation section. I think it has in our documentation, I think it has a lot more details about that and how to set things up.
Great call out, Sarah. Yeah, check out our documentation. Are you saying when searching in documentation gave 0 results? Because that's good feedback, I said. So you can feel free and send me a DM with more info of that, and I'd be happy to share.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
also the that was kind of announced at GDC, the MetaHuman overview documentation that shows how to do things with MetaHuman, and that uses a lot of different um like animations you can do on faces and on the character themselves. I'll send the
awesome.
link.
Yeah. I'm weirdly struggling to find stuff on YouTube. I think because there's so many tutorials that when I type in Unreal Engine or UEFN tutorials for a specific thing, it's like 500, which is great. The community's creating a lot of content, but ours doesn't pop up first because there's so many. Let's see. Oh yeah. Speaking of the NPC device, curious if you guys know about this. Is there a way to listen to events for custom guards, for example? Would be awesome to listen to suspicious or alerted events with custom NPC spawners using the guard type.
So currently there isn't because regular the regular AI module um, doesn't expose guard specific things. That's also partly a roadmap question, but I feel you. That's something I would really like. 'Cause it'd be cool. It'd be cool to make your own custom guards and have them do things like that. Make a nice stealth game.
Yeah. All right, this person called out for being off topic already, but they were wondering if Evan could help.
Oh,
um, can how can we use categories in editable? I tried to use, but it doesn't work for me.
I don't think we haven't really started documentation for that yet. That's something that we're working on. So stay tuned. We'll have like, tutorials and examples on that.
Stay tuned.
we hear
Sarah's got
you.
all the deets. Um, Any way to have editable textures in the content browser in the future? That's a roadmap question, so we don't know. For all of you wonderful humans asking us about the future stuff, if we knew, we would share if we were able to, but there's just so much, right? Like we move super fast. There's a lot of plans. The roadmap that you saw that's been shared out, that's the high level stuff. That's what we know to be as coming out. Sometimes stuff does squeak in because there's awesome devs working on things that are that will add to those features that will come out. I know we've seen a bit of that happen too. We're like, oh, this feature was in here and so wonderful. I know Ryan X shout out to you and your team for calling those things out too. And we always want to call those things out as much as possible, but we work so fast that a lot of stuff does just come out. So we can't necessarily speak to everything. We can definitely try if we have any insight, if we're able to, if it's on the roadmap. But all that stuff would definitely be. It's a great thing to ask when, say, we have those events where Bjorn is there and we're talking about roadmap. There's a lot of roadmap talks when we go to events. So I know not everyone can be there, but if you pay attention and watch those videos, there's usually a lot of questions in there, and whether or not we can speak to those, it'll be on there too. So I know it's tricky. There's so many things y'all are excited about, and you want to build certain things into your experiences that you're looking for specifically for certain experiences. But please, if you have wants and needs, share them on our forum. Definitely feel free to encourage others to upvote that stuff, because the more that we hear, oh, we really want this, and there's a lot of upvotes, so there's a lot of data to say this is what a lot of people really want, then we can help more people at once by kind of aiming for those things. So just a little spiel about roadmap stuff, that if we can answer your question, we're so sorry. We don't want to say the wrong thing and lead you astray, because we just don't know, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's see.
But I did see a question asking about
Yeah.
Niagara and Verse, and that is something that you can do. You can spawn particle systems.
Yes.
And I put a link in the Discord
Oh,
of how to expose those assets to Verse.
thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. I'll put it in the other chats too. I'm scanning through to see if there's any other.
Tom
Okay.
Jank also had a good question, which was, what's the
Yes.
usual time frame for building a template like this?
Ooh, great
Um,
question.
the answer is it depends on how much feature creep and scope creep
Mhm.
you let happen.
Yeah.
But our V1 for this did not take like a particularly long amount of time. For something like this, again, the main time adder is going to be you doing things like refactoring or having a new device come out that solves a lot of your problems, so you try and reintegrate that in. And one of the largest things for this actually was the art side of things. If we strip away the art, this is actually pretty like lightweight, simple template at the end of the day. But through adding stuff like Verse UI, the really just amazing art assets from the team at Heavy Iron that they provided for us, all that, it adds a considerable amount of time. I think the answer to that question really depends on like how many artists you have on your team and whether you're a programmer or not.
Yeah, and it was a lot of like us working with the art team to figure out figuring out how to solve the button issue, because we didn't want to do the default Fortnite buttons. Like, how do we like still have like a little bit more custom look to them? And so there's a lot of back and forth on things like that, of like figuring out what's possible, but how but still making it look good according to like what the the concepts that the art team came up with. So there's a lot of like back and forth of us like solving problems, which is pretty fun.
Mhm.
Nice. Ooh, we've got a big question. I think I kind of know part of the answer, but someone asked, would you recommend understanding C++ for verse coding when for trying to make experimental levels, or would it be more simple to use blueprints and or reference S? I don't feel limited actually in UFN. There are some great live event creations that interest me, but I feel overwhelmed to learn, and I'm not sure how or what to learn first. That's a big question. Um, I guess the root of the question would be, would you all recommend learning other coding languages to help you in learning verse, or is it better to just kind of like dive into verse? And if you do dive into verse, where to start, which we kind of touched on earlier?
I think we both have different experiences when it comes to this because I was
Oh,
not
good.
a like a UE C++ programmer before this. I came
Mhm.
at this very much from like a Java and Python side background. So
Gotcha.
a lot of my learning was purely diving into verse, and sharing a lot of the same difficulties as y'all. Of It's tough. It's very tough, especially at a time when the documentation, like we were writing the documentation as we were learning verse, which was hilarious. Um, but so I can say from my experience, I've learned verse without having to go through C++ personally. And now I'm really glad that there's a lot of like really good starter content on the EDC, like
Mhm.
the learn the basics of verse lessons. We also have a lot more like beginner um focused tutorials under like learn game mechanics. This is all on the Epic developer community, by the way, under learn game mechanics. Um, and some of the build a game tutorials are also like a good way to just get your hands dirty and start learning. I think learning verse within the context of UEFN helps you learn it very fast rather than just trying to learn it in a vacuum. TLDR, go make something. Like you'll learn fast doing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Evan. I think just like playing with it and like that's the best way to learn a programming language. I mean, because at the end of the day, like once you know how to program, it's easier to like switch between languages. So it's more just like getting into like being comfortable programming. And this doing it with Verse and UEFN is like a fun way to do it with just you get to make cool games and it's very quick and easy to set up something and prototype it. Um, which I like really like Evan mentioned, like we prototyped this example like pretty fast
Mhm.
and like that's something that's really great for it. But I think yeah, just like I've mentioned before, like looking at examples, like we post simple like snippets of like how do you implement queues, how do you like do different things, how do you do a sorting algorithm, like merge sort. We post that in the snippet repository. And so that's a great way to kind of see like, you know, if you are familiar with other programming languages to see how to do it in verse, and kind of finding ways to like if you are familiar with traditional like computer science concepts like data structures, like figuring out how to implement that in verse can be like a really good um, like practice as well of like figuring out the language and understanding it.
Yeah,
But
someone in chat said, "Oh, sorry, go ahead,
oh,
Sarah."
I was also going to add, but yeah, I think the hard part with verse is that it's like, you know, it's a multi-paradigm language, so it's also functional. So learning C++, like it'll help you to some degree, but it won't like learning something like Haskell could also like help you as well, just like learning how to write in a more functional way than just purely object oriented.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments in chat about others' experiences too. I can see here, like some are saying it's more like Python, or like C sharp is pretty similar, or someone was saying the best ways to learn verse within UFN is to try to recreate box PVPs and basic maps and such.
Yeah,
And that's interesting too. Yeah, and that's a lot of why we do these templates, right? So we can also you can pull from certain things to try and build it yourself as well.
I heavily agree with that. Even if verse is your first programming language, by trying to recreate something that you already like or that you've already seen someone else do, you will learn. You don't need a degree to learn verse, basically. That's what it comes down to.
You heard it here first, folks. No, but seriously, he's right. You definitely, it's all about what you put towards it, right? And playing around with it and spending the time, spending the hours, What is the quote? Is it like 10,000 hours of something and you're a master. So, I mean, that's a lot of hours. But anywhere up that chain, right, is going to be you growing and growing and growing and putting in the time. So, but we make these templates specifically so you can go in, you can dabble, you can pull from, you can mix them and match them and do whatever, you think to try certain things. And if you break things, you break things. Sometimes you break things and you make things, right? Like cool stuff comes out of it. So we're definitely, if you do learn cool things, always feel free to share with us. And then it also helps us learn what better things to build for these as well. Like, oh, people really want to make this. So we'll hear that out. Let's see. Is there anything else? Shameful bump. Oh, ooh, can we have a deep dive talk on Verse UI? You know what? Mayapple, we almost had one. We almost did. So I'm trying to get the team who was interested in doing that on here because they were down and then things happened and things got crazy. But that was one of the topics we wanted to do. So thank you for reinforcing that. And that will help me see if I can get that team on because they were super excited to talk about that. So that would be great as well. Let's see. Double checking any of these. I
I would
think
add
okay.
on to kind of the previous topic too. I mean, we have these templates. So I have a lot of
Mm.
opinions on this. We
No,
have
no,
all
you were so good. I was laughing because someone said bully them, Shane. Go ahead, go ahead.
So we have these templates and like someone asked, like, is this example that we have here, can it be multiplayer? Like this is a perfect example of like taking something that already exists and like expanding it into like whatever ideas you have. And that's like a lot of why we give why we give y'all these templates is to show like how to do something, then for you to like take it and then add on to it, change it, turn it into something that you want to create. And that's a really great way to learn a programming languages as well, is like diving into something that works and then modifying it and adding on to it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna double check YouTube real quick because they've been asking a bunch of questions. Oh, here's a good one. It's a bit of a deep question, but feel free and touch on like the most important points you all think are helpful. Can you describe the process you took to develop this latest piece, this template, such as going from concept to completion?
Where did
I
it
would,
all begin?
yeah.
Yeah, where did it
A
all?
long time ago.
Yeah, well, we had a brainstorm session where we knew we wanted to add verse code to the starter template. Um, like it already had like an art pass on it, giving that like really cool like futuristic look to it. And we wanted to have verse code associated with it as well. So we brainstormed a bunch of different ideas, and we figured since it's like a starter template, like mini games were really good concept of something that's like smaller focused but showing different ways to use verse. Um, so that's when we landed on this idea, and we then started prototyping, and we set up our prototype and figured out like, okay, like what is this even possible? And we were able to prove that. And then we then set up, a development timeline of like, okay, this is if we wanted to ship it at this point, like, work back to it. Like, how do we make sure we have time for QA to go through it? How do we make sure we have time for the art team to go through it? So, and there's like, we did have to push it a couple times just because of things kind of out of our control, but that's kind of like our development pipeline, was having our prototype, making sure, proving that the idea works, and then iterating on it to that gold standard before having a QA pass on it.
And I personally think one of the most important parts of that prototyping stage is literally just hop on a jam session with some people and see what works, what doesn't, what do you actually like about it. It changed a lot from the initial design.
Yeah.
That's what I can say. And we can only find that out through collaborating with other people.
Yeah, and we do a lot of pair programming sessions where like, so VS Code has this really cool feature where you can live share with someone, and so you can have multiple people in your VS Code session at the same time, just like coding together. And that's like, especially while prototyping and like coming up with ideas, like that was a really great way to kind of hash out stuff of like, oh, is this possible? And we're just sitting there like coding out different like classes and stuff. And so we did that a lot on this project.
Yeah, can't recommend the live share feature in VS Code enough.
Oh, this one's kind of an older question. I'm wondering if y'all could help with it. But totally fine if not. Are there Are there examples of view models and MVVM for UEFN? I can only find UE docs on view models. I remember someone talking about MVVM, but I don't remember if that was something we have. Y'all know?
I mean, that was the design pattern we were trying to hit with this
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we just ran into a lot of like issues making it like completely uncoupled from
This
that.
is about
But
the
for the most part,
UEI,
we
right? Right, Sarah? It's the UI that you were talking about earlier,
well, it's like
MVVM.
The game logic, the game state, like
Oh, it
from
was the
what's
game logic.
happening in
Okay,
game. It's like that whole like deciding what is in control of the what people see, what's in control of the game state. Is that kind
gotcha.
of pattern. Um, Yeah, so that's something that we tried to accomplish, but I think just with the way the UI is set up, makes it a little bit more
Oh,
difficult
thank
because
you.
you have to display for each player in the game.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of like things you have to know and information and we tried to do it that way and it didn't work out super efficiently. Um, so we pulled back on that a little bit,
Gotcha.
but still try to keep things as uncoupled as we could.
Thank you. Thank you for the info on that. So it's something where like over time it might be more doable in the future than it is
Yeah,
right now.
as
Okay.
like things kind of evolve, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the insight. Um, da, 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 da. I think this one's a little too, might be a little too general. Forgive me. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. I'm just trying to make sure we stay on topic because I don't want to take their time too much for things if we're unable to answer, that's all. Just know how you can apply updates. I'll ask this one because it is a bit technical and maybe you all do know, but if not, no worries. Seems like if you apply too many changes in a given time period, like moving devices or updating the HUD, some of these will silently fail, I think it says. Is there any way to know how often you can apply updates?
To your session. I think in UEFN you can always see at the top if you like when you try to launch your session, it'll tell you if you have updates that you can push changes for. Um, yeah. Other than that, I think it's more just sometimes you might need to exit your session and relaunch if if it's taking too long or if it's not working the way you expect.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Yeah. People are saying this has been really, really great for a lot of us. Thanks so much. Great for people starting out. Thanks so much. Awesome. Now I just need to find people to program with. Let's see. Oh, MVVM. Yeah, I remember hearing about MV. I think we talked about MVVM in the village, I believe. That was the last time we brought it up. But yeah, definitely look into that more. And thank you for pulling that up, Evan. You're hi, Eason. Welcome. IQ 4 IQ 200 up. you're you're not too late. This will be on YouTube. But if you have any questions for them, please drop them in chat now. Because I think, how are y'all feeling? Or was there anything else high level you wanted to cover? Or are we just answering questions for just a little bit more? Or
We've covered a lot of the high level stuff.
covered
Honestly, I'm
everything you wanted
really
to?
enjoying
Okay.
fielding questions from the
Yeah.
Oh,
community.
I
great.
think maybe one thing
Okay.
I do want to call out is the
Yeah.
submodules. I think
Mm,
I feel like I get a lot of questions on that, and it'd be nice
yeah.
to get it out there.
Yeah, let's do it. Heck yeah. That's what this time's
um,
for.
yeah. So if you have, especially this is particularly relevant for asset reflection. But if you want to be able to reference your assets within your verse code, I don't, Evan, if you have the submodules.verse file open, yeah. So you have to these actually map into folders that are in the content browser of your UEFN project. So there's a like textures minigame UI folder. And so to be able to access the assets that are in that folder, you have to like add the public access specifier onto the folder name, which is also like the same as a submodule in verse. And so setting that specifier allows you to then be able to access what's in that folder within your verse code. And Evan, if you switch over to content browser, you can see like that folder does exist in the content browser. Um, and so if you ever are trying to like, oh, I have this texture, but it's like, you know, buried in all these folders, that's how you expose it to your verse code. And we have documentation that explains this that we posted already.
Awesome. Thanks for pulling that up and chatting about it. Hi, I notice you. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other there was one other question. Oh, it's a very important question for you both. Um, I want to make a cat NPC. Is there any way to figure out how to do this? I love I would check with NPC spawner first. I
Yeah,
would check through the documentation of NPC. I don't know if it's possible yet. Maybe a humanoid cat. I don't know.
I
I
I
think
also played Lego Cat Island Adventure.
That's right. That's right. It
yeah,
was
that
in
game's
that.
really good. They did a good job.
They did. Mine just kept farting. I didn't even notice. My partner was like, your cat's just sitting there farting while you're standing there, right?" And I was like,
I was
just the
sitting in the hot
details.
tub while my cat was getting its bath, so that was a great experience. So
The hot tubs are great, right?
I like how Evan's cat shows up for this talk right now.
I know, right?
It knew. I don't think we have the answer. Anything, there are plans to include AI path patrol path node feature in the creature spawner. I don't I don't think we have any info on that, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. If there is, we'll see. Maybe it would be possible to do some sort of a roadmap chat one day. But again, it's just so hard because we don't want to say like, yeah, this will definitely happen. And then say there's something really, really big that you all do want, and it is possible, and it's gonna take a lot of resources. And then we go, they really want this, and then we shift everything to that. So it's kind of like you just never know. So it's really hard to talk about the roadmap stuff, but we appreciate you all asking. Um Oh my gosh. Am I the only one that thinks it's cool that Daniel Radcliffe works for Fortnite?
God.
I'll show myself out. Oh, y'all get a lot of love in this stream. Okay, cool. Well, if there's no other big things you all wanted to cover, I thought this was awesome. We answered the most questions ever. I feel like this might have been the most questions I've ever gotten in all the live streams in the past year. I'm not even gonna like combined. This was great. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Sarah and Evan, for toughing it out and doing your best to answer all the random questions that we did get. Thank you for being patient with me since I'm not a programmer. I appreciate it. Hopefully you all found this helpful in chat. How did you all feel? Was it good? Oh, another cat. How was it? Did you all enjoy this? This is a new type of live stream we're testing out. Please let us know. We'd like to do more of these and maybe like more often because they're not as big as the other streams. So it's something where we can have people just kind of pop in and do this thing. Thank you for the deep dive. Thank you for listening much to the community with you and suggestions and topics. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Do more of these. Great. Hammering out UI stuff at the same time. Well, thanks for being here, WXYZ. We appreciated all your questions as well. If we didn't get your question, it's probably because we just felt like we don't have the answer for it, and that's totally okay. Thank you for coming, for taking the time, for asking the questions. We tried to answer as much as we could. Learned a few things from this. Awesome. Trying to join more in the future. Great, Rams. That'd be awesome. If you guys have any feedback about these live streams, if there's any topics, it sounds like we have the idea for our next topic. If I can make it happen, we will do our best. But please feel free, message me, message Flack, any of us on the community team or creators evangelism. You can always message them too. Let them know like what kind of topics you'd like to see. I figured this would be super helpful. Y'all have been asking for verse stuff for a long time, and we had Evan and Sarah kind of chatting about wouldn't it be cool. And yes, we're so glad to have them. So thank you, Evan and Sarah, so much for coming on. We love you guys. We appreciate it. If it weren't for you, I mean, this is for you, right? We're building things for y'all to make awesome stuff, right? That is the whole purpose. You are the purpose. So thank you for showing up. But yeah, with that, oh, you're so welcome to tips and tricks. All devs need at least one pet. That's true. I think it's
Preferably two.
especially when we're yes, preferably two. I know. We're stuck in our desks all day. What can we do, right? Meanwhile, Evan will go build some more mechas. Wow, they know a lot about you.
I
Oh,
wonder who
see,
this
yours were
is.
just too tiny. I couldn't see them back there. There they are. Hi, Max. Cool, sweet. Well, thank you so much. Epic dev map in future. I will put in the request. I would do that for you. Eason, other cat. Yes, cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Again, share your feedback with us if there's anything. Don't forget to check out the Docs and Learning section. This is the wonderful Docs and Learning team. And there's a lot of great stuff in there. If you do have any feedback on Docs and Learning, please also share that with us. Like if there's something you really, really want or would be really, really helpful, the team really wants to know. I know for a fact because we've had these conversations. They're like, what does the community want? What stuff would be helpful? You've seen it in the surveys, so please let us know. But yeah, and let us know if there's any other talks you'd like us to do. Again, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Evan, so much. You guys didn't have to do this for me or for us, and you did it, and I appreciate your time so much. So, with that, yeah, I guess we'll say bye. Any last things y'all want to say?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful. And like, it's really, honestly, it's also just really fun to talk to everyone in the community, field questions. It's always incredible to see what y'all are making. And yeah, we make docs so that you guys can make cool stuff. And like Shane said, please, your feedback is super, super important. We really, really value it. And we want to know what you think and what you guys want to see. So yes.
Yeah, plus one
Awesome.
to that. Yeah, we want to see all the cool stuff y'all make, and we're here for y'all to help y'all out in making that cool stuff. So
Oh, Logan says the docs make such a big difference. Thanks for all the hard work and energy you put in. Oh, we'll leave on that wonderful note. Thank you all. Talk to you all soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks again, Evan and Sarah. Have a great rest of your day. And
Bye, y'all.
yeah, feel free and dip out, and I'll hang down. I'll hold down the fort here in comments with the chat because I have to for at least 1 minute.
Okay.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again.